Welcome to ProCAD's 3D Smart Modeler tutorials. Watch the entire video or use the on-screen table of contents to skip to a specific topic. Module 1, Creating a New Design Model, covers the following topics: Project Manager, Toolboxes, Basic Settings, and Database Settings. Let's begin. These tutorials were created using English units. All ProCAD software products support both English and metric units. Our first topic is the Project Manager. When the 3D Smart software opens, we should see the Project Manager dialog box. If it is closed, we can simply select the Project Manager tool, or from the pull-down menu, select the Show Project Manager. In the Project Manager, we see the list of projects that have been created, and we see a list of available designs or drawings within the projects. At the bottom, it shows the path where the project designs or drawings are stored. To create a new design, simply select on the design pull down and select Create. This will create a blank design. We can create copies of existing drawings or designs by highlighting the design first and then create a copy of, or rename, delete, and other management tools. Let's create a blank drawing. But first, we'll select the project we would like to create the design in, and then we'll click on Create. Enter an appropriate file name. The path is shown. Click Next. Select the available specs you would like to have available within this design. This can be changed later on. This is the default. We have our 150, 300, and 600 pound specs available within the design. Click Finish, and the design is now created and opened. Up at the top in the status bar, we see the file name, TLP-3D-M1, as well as the project that it is associated with. We're now ready to do our design. Our next topic is toolboxes. On the left, we'll see two toolboxes. The first one is our Components menu toolbar, which shows our Project Manager, our submodules for our ANSI piping, ASME piping, equipment, PVC, shared components, and structural steel. We have a listing of all the components, all the tabs for all the different fittings, piping components from valves, threaded components, socket weld components, branch fittings. As well, at the bottom, we have our spec and line number that we can adjust as we do our designs. Simply select and pick A, B, or C spec. There's also a none spec, which takes it off spec for things like equipment and structural steel. The next toolbar is our standard toolbar, which has all the functions and application tools specific for the 3D Smart software, including our Change tab, our Auto tab for placing relative, and our Auto Route feature, ISOs for creating ISOs, our database tools, and other basic settings. Toolboxes can be moved, set as free-floating, or they can be docked on the right-hand side of the screen, customizable as far as setting up the screen. We'll put it back to the default location. Also, we have the AutoCAD standard View toolbar and the Visual Styles toolbar. And again, both of these can be free-floating or docked. Very useful for working in a 3D environment. The View toolbar allows us to pick any of the standard orthographic viewing angles, as well as the 4 default isometric settings. Under the Visual Styles, we can set it to a 2D wireframe, 3D wireframe, or realistic rendering to look at the model as we're doing our design. Let's dock these back on the side. Also on the screen is AutoCAD's Navigation View Cube, which can be turned on and off. The command to turn it on and off is the Nav View Cube display, and it can be set to 0 to turn it off. Frees up real estate on our graphics screen. Our next topic is basic settings. In our component menu bar, down at the bottom in the lower left corner, we can set our spec to the spec we require for the design. We can also set the line number. Pre-existing line numbers exist. We can go under our project pull-down menu to adjust the specs. We can select the project specs. Project specs show us all available specs. We can toggle on and off the specs required for this particular design. Under the project lines, we see the lines that are currently listed. We can create new lines simply by clicking the Create Project Line tool and entering an appropriate line tag. Toggle it on to have it accessible within our design. Click Apply to save changes. We now have the new line number. We can also access the lines and specs through our Project Manager. Click on the Project Manager icon, and under the Projects pull-down menu, we can select Project Specs, Lines, and Location. Other settings to take a look at would be under the Design pull-down menu. We can view by line number or view by spec. So as we get into more difficult and more complex designs, work with view by line number, so that it picks up a line number and shows the color of the line number on our designs. For smaller projects, viewing by spec keeps it simple and it views it by the spec color. This property is interchangeable at any time. Other settings we can take a look at are the properties of the design. So we have the general, just the file name, the design specs, and the history, which actually allows us to check to see who has checked out the drawings. Other settings to take a look at, basic settings. Under the 3D Smart pull-down, we can set settings, and we can go into the general. Connectivity rules. Under the Display tab, we can set what units we want to see displayed on the screen. And finally, under the Maintenance, after we have deleted 100 components from our design, it will show a flag saying to clean up and delete all the components from the database that have been marked as deleted. Our last topic in Module 1 is database settings. 3D Smart is database driven, so there are some database tools that are accessible through the drawing environment. We select the Database Tools tab, we see three options. We can regenerate the drawing from the database, we can synchronize the database from the drawing, and we can copy a design. Regenerate a drawing from a database. We can use this if the drawing was exited without saving, and we have a mismatch of database items versus the actual AutoCAD drawing items. We can regenerate from the database and have all of the information. This is also particularly useful if someone has accidentally deleted the AutoCAD drawing file. We can recreate the drawing file and then regenerate the drawing from the database. When we select that, it asks and gives some warnings to make sure that you're doing the right routine. If you're unsure, just exit out. Synchronizing the database from the drawing. So if our drawing is correct and we're not sure about our database and we're happy with our design, we can then update the database to match our drawing or our design. Again, if you're not sure, we can cancel out. These tools can also be found under the Design pull-down, where we can regenerate from the database, refresh from the database, synchronize the database, all useful tools within the drawing environment. This concludes the topics covered in Module 1. Please review Module 1 or select the next module.